Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show.
We just got breaking news in.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show and on NorCal Sports Network. We've got Dan joining us today. So we're doing a little collab today. How you doing, Dan?
Great, Cody. Good to be with you. Great to have a little – we're just a few days away now, from spring training. So I usually try and get down there the first day. I'm not sure if I'll make it this year. I'm still hobbling around from my hip replacement surgery. I definitely don't want to walk in there with a walker and look like that guy. So I've been walking today without it, but I'm limping pretty bad right now. So
yeah, well, it's got to be tough trying to get kind of just getting up and down the stairs and everything like that. Like that cannot be easy coming off.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's stairs at the stadium. Yeah, yeah. That's the rough part. Yeah. So,
yeah. But all good. Yeah. I know you talked to me about this a little while back. There's you'll be hopefully good for the complex league when that gets
yes,
going in May.
I can't wait for that. I am so excited for that. I am looking forward to, I'm hoping and praying that Luis Hernandez and Joshar Gonzalez are both playing, and I want to see them in the lineup together.
Did you see, and for everybody that's jumping in here, we're going to be doing a lot of lineup talk. We're going to talk about the coaching staff. Well, we're going to go through all that. But before we hop into that, while everyone's kind of jumping in, did you see Baseball America did 2 separate articles? There was top 15 most exciting players that they're anticipating are going to make their stateside debut this season.
I missed that one.
So they did position players, and then they did another top 15 for pitchers. And the Giants had 2 on each list where they had Joshua and Luis Hernandez were the position players. No shock there. And then on the pitcher side, it was Alberto LaRoche and Carlos De La Rosa, the guy that got
De La Rosa.
Yeah, that's a guy that a lot of people think, which is pretty crazy because Parks Harbor was phenomenal and Jesus is obviously AAA, but there was a lot of scouts that feel like De La Rosa is the jewel of that Doval trade.
You know, it's interesting. You see the guys that they got internationally and some of the guys they got in the trade. Do you think that influenced Buster in not going after Framber or any other player this offseason that has a qualifying offer or they don't want to give up any more draft picks. They don't want to give up any international pool money. Seems like that's intentional to me, but yet they were willing to give up prospects for CJ Abrams. So it makes me wonder, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And I would want to know what the difference in the pool money is going to be if they were to give up that second round pick, which at this point, I think Gallen is like the only guy really out there that might cost it. I don't know if there's any other QO players still floating around.
Giolito's has no QC. Or QO, I should say. Yeah.
Which with Gallen, I think, and this is honestly looking at it from Gallen's perspective anyway, I think it makes the most sense for him to sign like a 1-1 with Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming off a bad year. Go hit Arizona on a 1-1, try and reestablish your value, and then go hit free agency next season with no QO attached to you. Like that to me seems the most logical, but we'll see. But I wonder, one of the things that having that second round pick, if they lost it, like if they signed a Framber, which I mean, I 100% agree with people when they say whoever you drafted in the second round, there's no chance are ever going to be as good as Framber. And you know what, like 99.9%. Yes, you're correct. But also I kind of wonder if they lose, because you would lose the bonus pool money associated with that pick.
Right.
And when you have that money, you kind of have a little flexibility with that number 4 pick, where you can go kind of one of two ways. You could potentially go under slot and then try and grab somebody that falls out of the first round
Right.
that all of a sudden there's signability concerns with teams, and you're sitting there going, well, we can sign him because we got all this, we went
Right.
under slot. Or you can even, you can possibly go way above slot for a guy if, I can't think of his name,
Chikowski, yeah, from UCLA.
Yeah.
Cody, I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking about this under slot, I was like, I don't want another under slot guy at the fourth pick. I mean, I hope they don't try to say, let's see if we can sneak a second guy in there, because number one, you don't know if that second guy's going to really be there. And two, this is an opportunity to get a really, really impact player. And don't get chintzy. Don't be, I mean, fine. I don't know what Killian's going to be like, but he doesn't seem like the ceiling's super high. He seems like he's got a, floor, but, I want to see a guy that's got a super high ceiling.
Yeah.
And, with the fourth pick, I mean, if they could duplicate last year's fourth pick in Nick Kurtz, somebody with that impact, oh my gosh.
Oh, for sure. And I agree with you. I just more mean like the flexibility that comes with having that second round pick. I mean, and they've done it for a number of years with varying levels of success. I mean, that was obviously kind of Farhan's thing. They drafted they drafted Reggie Crawford way under slot. It let them get Carson Whisenhunt. Well, that was a top 100 prospect at one point, top like 70.
Right.
Obviously, he's kind of fallen off, but then they did the same thing with Bryce Eldridge. They got him under slot and let him get Walker Martin, which Walker Martin is struggling quite a bit. But then they did it with James Tibbs. It let him get Dakota Jordan in the fourth. Like you can be successful doing that, but I agree with you with the fourth pick. Don't get cute. Just don't be chasing under slot. Just get the best player, whoever that is.
Yes. Yes. That is going to be interesting. And I know we'll be talking a lot about that, and you and Dan and Ricky, as we get closer to, May, June, July, we start seeing what college seasons guys are having, and, who's going to excel. It's going to be interesting, but this tonight's kind of interesting. I thought, the topic you kind of came up with the coaching staff. I'm like with you. We were talking a little bit, before we came on the show here, and just we're both excited about the pitching staff that has Tony Vitello has put together. I mean. Message being the pitching coach, he's had some great experience with some of those Brewers pitchers that are young and what they've been able to do. Yeah, that's right, with Pittsburgh too, and then Frank Anderson, the guy that's, I think he's going to be really good to help out in the minor. I mean, this guy, was pitching coach for Garrett Crochet and many others. So it'll be good. It's going to be good.
Well, especially the way I look at a guy like Frank Anderson too. Think about all the players that obviously you're just bringing up a Crochet, and then there's a whole mess of them that, like, I think he had 10 or 12 first round picks that he coached, and like 50 something players that got drafted, or 40 something players that have been drafted. And you think about the age of all these guys he's coaching, they're college players. They're in that, whatever, the 18, 19 years old to 22, 23 on the older side. And then you look at the Giants system right now, and the biggest strength in their system when it comes to pitching is kind of in that lower minors, where it's, you got the De La Torres, the Arraez Kayamas, the Keter Martinez, the Jacob Bresnahan, and all these guys are the same age as the guys that Frank Anderson was coaching at Tennessee all these years. So to me, that is just his, is it NorCal Sports and whichever that the acronym is for. But like you said, that's a no-brainer hire, to me. Like that's
it's funny because you got Hunter Mintz. You called that one like a week or two before anybody out there had him on the radar. You nailed it. I kind of said the same thing about. I thought Frank Anderson could be a potential pitching coach for the Giants. I didn't know the role that they were going to put him in, but I thought Tony was going to want to bring him along because, he's been with them for quite a while, and then he's just kind of got that, I don't know, that mature, that senior, with his age and just the experience he's had. You need guys like that. You need one or two of those guys on a staff. It's a pretty young staff. I mean, look at all those pitchers. I mean, Anderson stands out. I mean, I guess you could put my picture up there and I'd look like the same. I'd be the grandpa. But I mean, that's a young staff. And I think it fits. Well, you got Ron Washington. I forget he's 73 down there at the bottom, but
even Tingler's only like 40, isn't he?
I think he's like 47. Is he? Or no, Tony's 47. I think isn't Tingler around the same age?
He might didn't
years younger.
Play.
I think he's a few years younger.
Didn't Tingler play under Vitello? Like when he was a graduate, like assistant,
maybe
or whatever
at
it was.
Missouri.
So he's probably mid-40s, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think he is.
Now, he's been around though.
Now there was talk, a few days ago. I was listening to some of the other Giants content shows out there on YouTube, and they weren't even totally sure if Jace Tingler. I think it was FP Santangelo. I heard yesterday or the day before say, "What are they waiting for?" And announcing is. His theory was they've got somebody big coming to be the bench coach, and obviously that didn't happen. It is Jace Tingler, but
Baggerly alluded to the holdup was they were working on one more biggish name, and it didn't work out. So
interesting.
They were holding off.
Do we know any idea who?
No, he didn't speculate on who, but they said that was the holdup.
Biggish name. Do you think it was to be the bench coach and make?
Could have been
make Tingler like the assistant manager or something, or oversee all of everything. It's like
it's hard to. He can be the assistant to the regional manager or to the.
Now, what's going to be interesting to me, Cody, is Vitello's first camp. It's going to be quite different than college camp. And, getting all these pitchers, I'm sure he'll be relying quite a bit on Message and Anderson to, because we're going to talk about the potential lineup tonight, but there's probably minimum of three, if not four, probably open spots on the pitching on the bullpen side that are just wide open for non-roster players to take the reins, guys that are maybe potential starters that are probably not going to earn a starting position for the Giants this year, but could be the long men. Those are guys that it's just going to be fascinating to me because I went through this exercise with Dallas last night. We just went through every pitcher on the 40-man that's a bullpen arm minus the 5 starters. And then we went through the non-roster guys, and it's like, there's not many guys that have spots locked up. I mean, you could say Ryan Walker's got a spot locked up because he's, a veteran and he's probably, but there's a world that I don't see it happening, but there is a world where he just gets rocked in spring and has an ERA of, 15, 20 plus, and he just can't get anybody out. And then there's guys like Trent Harris that are just dealing, and Bednar and, Peguero and all these other guys that are just getting guys out that they just say, do we give the guy a spot when,
Would it shock anybody here if they made late spring, we'll call it like that last week before the season, roster shuffle with the pen, like where they make a trade where it's like the guys like Luis Matos or even like a Casey Schmitt or someone along those lines, or Ryan Walker gets, I mean, it's just, would it shock anybody? I mean, Farhan used to do those all the time where, I mean, hell, he flew guys parents out saying, hey, this dude's making his debut, and then pulled the rug out from under them opening day. So it wouldn't shock me.
Oh, who was that guy that was the opening day, the guy they got from the Royals or something? Who was that name? He lasted like a few days.
No, they pulled Beatty up, I think, for him, but who the heck was the guy?
I'm trying to remember. I think he used to be with the Dodgers or something. I can't remember his. But that's the name, David Ross. I did hear that name. David Ross was a name that I think I heard FP and Susan Slusser maybe throw out. But it was Susan Slusser said something like she knew David Ross and talked to him, and he said, "No, I'm not involved at all." So she was, so it was probably must not have been him. But I wanted to ask you something, because I see in the chat about Wilmer Flores' name. I just saw something yesterday, I believe. There was like 115 Major League Baseball players that were on rosters last year in the majors that are still outstanding free agents. Wilmer's one of them. But look at all the pitching. I mean, you got Bassett, you got Giolito, you got Zach Gallen, you got tons of people still unsigned. And, are some of these guys going to have to settle for minor league deals?
Yeah, I mean, here, let's talk about obviously Flores is on there. I mean, let's talk about a guy like, Dom Smith too, who had a really good year for the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good names out there still. And I don't know. It's kind of nuts that some of these guys might have to do, non-roster invites or stuff like that, and some might just they might have opportunities that they're just waiting right now going, okay, is a little more money going to come? Is a little, whatever. I mean, Wilmer is the kind of guy that a team that needs like a bench bat, I'm kind of shocked, like a contender that maybe has a thinnish bench is not trying to just get him in to be just that, a guy they pull off the bench and he gets 150 at bats at the end of the year, or 200 at bats, and they call it good. I mean, he got overplayed with the Giants, but it
is interesting. And then we mentioned the name Casey Schmitt as a possible trade. For selfish reasons, I kind of feel like
we're gonna do two.
Oh, we got a couple there. Yeah.
Free Casey. Thank you, 616. And then he said, and this is kind of to your point, you're going to talk about Casey.
So I look like Bob Melvin? Oh my gosh.
Dan's awake. He can't look like
Bob has a lot of hair. I have none. Okay. Well, I shave it, but but here's the thing with Casey. For selfish reasons, I have mixed feelings. I want to see him stay on the Giants because I think opportunities always open up. You never know what's going to happen in a season. Guys get injured. Guys have bad, streaks, slumps, and then things change, and you're just an injury away from being, a starting third baseman if something happens to Chapman. On the other hand, it's kind of sad when you think about his career. Here's a guy that came up as really the people compared him to Matt Chapman when they drafted him. And they said, this guy's got third base skills of a Matt Chapman. And he's never had a chance in the majors other than last year. And then he gets hurt to show himself at third base for an extended period of time. And so I'm kind of thinking to myself, and I haven't talked to him, and, I wouldn't reveal anything if I did, if he told me anything, but I gotta believe he wants to be on. I know he loves being on the Giants. Everybody loves him in the clubhouse. He's really one of the more liked players on the team, but I gotta believe at some point he's got to be like, man, I wish I could just play third base. I wish I get an opportunity. Look at teams all around baseball that can really use a third baseman. And then, a third baseman's going to go down in spring training somewhere. And I'm almost kind of that other selfish part of me that says, I just love to see him get a chance to play third in his career, because he's not going to get the opportunity here in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation because, just like you said, for the club's sake, it makes sense to keep him, like, from the Giants. And at the end of the day, it's a business, and they gotta look out for the team, not the individual, which sucks to say, because, like, as I agree with you regarding Casey. Like, I would love to see him get an opportunity somewhere. And as of right now, it's not in San Francisco. Now, could that change? I mean, sure. I mean, there's a lot that can happen where, like you said, Chapman or Adames could get a freak injury. I mean, there's a situation where maybe they just decide Bryce has a bad spring, and they decide, okay, you know what? You're not ready. You need more time in Sacramento. And then suddenly Casey gets a lot of starts at first. Now, is that underusing his defensive ability? I think it is, but maybe he gets a bunch of starts there, and they do a little more DHing with Devers. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do, but in his versatility and ability to play all four infield positions, like, makes it to where the team can't really just say, you know what, bye. Because, I mean, we've seen what we've got with Koss, and he can be, I think, productive in spurts, but I don't think Koss is a guy you can just trot out there every day. If something happens, you're going to be in deep trouble if you do that.
Yeah, he's a role player that can fill in for a week or two, but he's not. His weaknesses will get exposed at the plate after they figure him out. But I think Koss. The other thing about Koss that's kind of interesting to me is I think he's probably more suited for the role than Casey, of a guy that can sit for a whole week and then come up, and where Casey he needs reps. He's just, I don't think if they don't do this right, and Casey is a guy that gets one, or let's say he gets 3 or 4 bats a week, it's not going to be pretty, I don't think.
Yeah. I would say, and this is where I'm kind of like trying to map out, and we're going to go through the whole lineup here shortly, but when I think about, like, where he's going to get playing time, I do think a couple things need to happen. I think the team needs to recognize that Adames and Chapman, I think we all love that they play 162 games a year, but I think realistically, Adames just turned 30. Chapman's 32 now.
Going to be 33 in April, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? The injury he suffered last year wasn't really like a fatigue thing. I mean, it was kind of a freak thing, diving back into the bag. But I think the club needs to at some point recognize, hey, maybe we need to dial these guys back to 150 games a year.
That's exactly what I said last night.
Yeah, where they get 2 games a month off.
Exactly.
It's like, just dial them back and then Casey gets in for 12 games there, or 24.
24.
And then Arraez, you know what? Maybe when you're facing a left hand, a kind of a tough lefty, where you're like, and I'm not advocating people for platooning Bryce Eldridge. That is not where I'm going here. But the reality is, Casey is a guy that has hit left-handers pretty well historically. Last year kind of was rough, but overall, big picture, he's hit lefties pretty well. Maybe you against some tough ones, or you move Arraez to DH, or you DH Casey, but you give Bryce a day, the day off. And there's ways you can manipulate the lineup, or maybe Devers, because you're not going to sit Arraez against every lefty, and you're not going to, but maybe you move Devers to DH for a game and have Casey play first. There's ways you can
absolutely
get him in the lineup.
I agree with you. I said this last night, and maybe, I don't know if I'm in the right zone or whatever, but I said that I said pretty much the same thing. They need to have Adames and Chapman play about 150 and spell these guys. It'll help them in the long run. I believe they'll be more productive. And the other thing I was saying is, I think Casey, if they can figure a way, let's say the Arraez experiment, it goes decently, and it's not a train wreck. they got to try and figure to get Casey to play in about 80 games where he's getting 75, 80 starts, getting over 300 plate appearances, and to keep him fresh. And I think that will help him and the team, because Arraez is, he's not going to play every day at second. I said, and this is just a wild off the cuff comment, but I said I'd be shocked if he plays 130 games at second base.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I could easily see that number being like 120,
Yeah.
And also, here's another one. Supposedly if Bryce is up here, they're not going to just DH Bryce every single day. Like
Right.
they are going to need to get him reps and get him at first base some. And like that is something that they've kind of admitted some of that development is going to have to happen at the major league level. Okay, fine. The days that Bryce Eldridge plays first base, if you've got a lead late in the game, you can't just take Devers out of the DH spot and put him at first. You lose your DH if you do that.
Right.
So Casey is going to end up in games and late in games if Bryce starts the game at first. So, and with Arraez at second, he's going to end up in games late in games because they're going to, if it's the 8th or 9th inning, if they've got a 3-run lead, they're going to go, all right, dude, you're going out there. Because I mean, you just need better defense. So I mean, he's gonna get into a good amount of games. I think at the end of the year, if he stays healthy, I still think he'll end up with 300, maybe 350 at bats. I do think he's going to get more than maybe we're expecting. I think they'll find ways. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, but yeah, let's run through the lineup because this is where it's going to be kind of interesting. I think it's pretty easy to see who the starting 9 are right now. And the only wild card is really just, Bryce Eldridge, which we can talk about that. As far as somebody that might not end up in the lineup, but pretty easy to see. We're just going to go around, not in any particular order, but you're going to have Bailey behind the plate, 3 out of 4 games or whatever it is, but you're going to have Bailey behind the plate. You're going to have probably Devers at first, Arraez at second, Damas at short, Chapman at third, and then left to right in the outfield, you're going to probably have Ramos, Bader, and Lee. So
yeah,
with Bryce likely DHing. So I kind of gave my thoughts the other day on a video after they signed Arraez, but how would you, if you're the manager for the day, how would you construct this lineup? So I have like 2 iterations.
We've talked a little bit about this, and I've thought about some of the things that you shared, and I think you've convinced me about Arraez. I would lead off with Lee, and I would probably go Adames second, and third I would go Devers. The 4th spot is interesting. I'd probably at this point go Ramos. 5th, I would. I'd go.
It gets tricky.
Yeah, it gets tricky. I'd go Arraez 5th, and hope he gets, can move guys along. Chapman would be 6th. 7th. What do we got? We got Bader left. We got Bailey.
Bryce, Bader, and Bailey.
Okay, I'd go Bryce 7th. I'm not sure if I want to go Bader 8th or put him 9th because I like a little bit more speed at 9. I'm almost tempted, but then you got Bryce 7. You kind of want to go left, right because you don't want that lefty to come in and face Bryce and then face Bailey. So I'd probably stick Bailey in the 9 hole and put Bader in the 8.
I'd also have Bailey 9 specifically because then you can lead off more innings with Lee. Honestly, than over Bader. So that's kind of my thought there. The lineup you just gave is probably exactly what I would do. For anybody that listened previously, I have one other kind of iteration. I'm going to go like one other option you could kind of do. But that's the exact lineup I would do. I mean, I kind of talked about it before. Lee, similar, had the exact same on base percentages as Arraez.
327, something like that?
Yeah. Now, obviously, and this is totally valid. A lot of people could point to Well, Arraez has had years where it was like 390 or 360 or 350 or whatever. And that's valid. Like that is something that he has done. But also there's kind of a reason for some of that regression that he's seen. Teams have figured out where to play him in the outfield, and that's not going to change just because he came to Oracle. It is a bigger yard. If he utilizes the yard well, he's got a chance to probably bump up his numbers a little. And I actually do expect him to be a little better than last season. Especially, I think he'll get back up over 300, just my personal feelings. But overall, I think Lee showed the ability to adjust. I showed this to a few people. I don't know if I messaged you this, or if it was in just different group chats, but last year, Jung-Hoo Lee, through the first about 6 weeks of the year, he was hitting 312. And then from like the second, it was like early in May, all the way through the end of June, he hit like a $182.
He started rolling the ball over to second base every time.
Yeah. And then if you go from July 1st to the end of the year, he hit 298. So he essentially had 4.5 months where he was a 300 plus hitter, and then a 7-week stretch where he turned into a pumpkin at the plate. Like it was just, he had a lot of really good games. He has, or a lot of good stretches of the season. He has a much better eye than Arraez. He chases way less. He walks a bit more. I think those numbers can improve a little bit even next year. I just think he has the ability to get on more consistently, and there's more upside with the legs. So I would rather see him there, because Arraez just doesn't. He doesn't bring his speed.
Yeah, so. I definitely. I'm curious what your iteration of the lineup is, because I have another one. I have another iteration too. So go ahead. I'm curious what yours is.
The other, I wonder if it's going to be the same. Now, this is strictly just in general, but the other iteration is you take Chapman and you move him up to 2. Yeah, and then you bump Adames goes back to 4, Ramos goes back to 6.
Yeah.
And that's just because Chapman sits there with his like 340 on base percentage. He gets on base a ton.
Yeah. I mean,
and you put 2 guys on for Devers.
I was talking about this the other night. You look at, I think Arraez hit 292 last year and was on base of 327, something like that. And you look at Chapman, he hit 231, but his on base was 340, as you just mentioned. So, or 3, whatever it was 100 points difference, 330, maybe. I can't remember his on base, but it was around there. It was about 100 points difference. And I was like, oh my goodness. So Chapman gets on base. There is a world. There's a lot of lineups. So there's a argument that you could say your best hitter bats number 2, right? With a lot of teams. And that because more plate appearances, more opportunities to do damage. And there is an argument that you could go Devers in the 2 hole, and you could go. I mean, you could go, if you really wanted to do something crazy, you could go Lee leading off, Devers batting second, batting third. You could go Adames batting fourth. You could put in, this is this is really wild. I wouldn't do this to start the season, but if Bryce catches on and he starts crushing the ball, you move Bryce up to cleanup, and then all of a sudden you're now pushing Chapman down a little further, and then you bat Arraez 9th, and you have Lee, and if you imagine Arraez, Lee, and Devers back to back, three lefties, not ideal, but these are guys that can hit lefties too.
I think the thing I try and do with these lineups is like I think you got Lee and Arraez are so similar that I think you do need to kind of split them.
I think you do too. I think you need to split them by 4 guys at least.
Yeah, because if you get them too close, it gets, if you end up late in a game, and they both hit for high averages, so there is potential that you can string hits together. But when you're facing a closer or something, it's the nastiest stuff in the league. The last thing I want to see is 2 guys that are zero threat to leave the yard and square up a game going back to back. Like that's where I struggle with that. And you already kind of get that with Bailey and if you have that at the bottom.
This is the thing about where pitchers tend to challenge
Yeah.
Arraez. He doesn't, and they don't even have to completely challenge him. It's just be somewhere near the zone, because he does chase. I think he's like 15 percentile in chase rate, isn't he? Something like,
he was like 15th. Yeah, he chases a ton.
Yeah. So, but you don't have to worry when you're facing Luis Arraez of a crooked number, of a home run. You just don't. So that's why you surround him by a bopper in front of him and a bopper behind him, so that keeps the line moving. If the Giants had a lineup, let's say like Toronto's lineup, they wouldn't need Luis Arraez. They just wouldn't, because there's so many other contact hitters in the lineup. Why he fits the Giants is because the rest of the lineup besides Lee strikes out over 20% of the time, and there is no contact hitters in this lineup. The only other guy that makes contact, and he's probably not even going to get a shot to play this year, is Luis Matos. He's about a 14% career K rate, and for some reason, the Giants just never gave him an opportunity to just, and I've always said, Cody, what drove me crazy about the Giants the last 2 years is this was the time to see if he can play or not. Now it's too late. You can't go, well, let's see if he can play this year. It's like,
you can't at this point. I mean, that ship sailed. I don't think I will be floored if Luis Matos makes the opening day roster.
I don't know where. I don't see a spot for him, because you got probably 4 outfielders. The 3 we mentioned as the starters, and Drew Gilbert's probably going to be the 4th guy that can play center, right, left. He's your best defender of the guys that are, between Encarnacion and Matos. And then this is what I was thinking. This is where Casey, I think he's going to get some reps in spring training in left field. I don't know about right field, but I can see him in left field. Right field wouldn't be bad either, because he's got a cannon.
Yeah. Honestly, I was kind of thinking about this earlier, because, if you think about the bench, we already listed off 9 guys that are highly likely to be, starting right now. They kind of look in pencil. They're in the starting lineup, but then you go to the bench, and one of them is going to be the backup catcher. That's always the case. So whether that's Suzak, who to me is probably the favorite right now, or Rodriguez, or whoever, Hossie. I mean, they have some options there, but one's going to be the catcher. Right now, Casey looks like the infielder. Gilbert looks like one of the outfielders. You're going to need that. You're going to have a 4th guy that. And this is where it gets interesting. Do you keep a Grant McCray just because he's an absolute burner? Do you go hand Christian Koss an outfield mitt, who's probably got more range than Casey, and go, hey, go learn how to play the corners, because you just never know when, and then you get a guy that can play like all over the diamond, like everywhere. It just gets a little weird on who you keep. Like, I think you're going to end up with kind of a niche player that really serves one role, and it's like, like I said, McCray is just going to be there to steal bags, like that's it, and play some defense late in games occasionally. Like, but then the other one that it gets interesting is, we've kind of talked about Bryce, like if he makes the club, and someone really quick before I go to my point here, someone mentioned hitting Bryce 9th. I don't think that'd be the worst thing in the world. Have some protection from the top of the order, and he does walk a good amount.
Yeah.
So he a little less pressure, can get on base, and you got some potential there. But if Bryce doesn't make the team, all of a sudden it turns into, all right, what does this team do with the DH spot? And I think you've got a couple of easy answers there. I think the first one would be, you probably have Ramos DH a lot when you have righties on the mound, and then Gilbert play left, and then you suddenly have a very strong outfield defense. And then if you're facing a lefty, stick Ramos back in left field and put Casey in at DH, or DH Devers that day and let Casey play first. It'd be a pretty easy.
Or Arraez could be the DH and Casey plays second.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'd have You'd have kind of that DH platoon, so to speak, like that
I think
little platoon.
I think we're gonna see fairly quickly. When I say quickly, the first 40 games, we're gonna know if the Arraez thing is working or not, because Logan Webb, it's interesting stat. He is the number one pitcher in baseball for ground outs to second base. So it's going to be interesting if all of a sudden Webb's giving up more hits because balls are just sneaking past the glove of Luis Arraez at second base, and they're getting into right field, or right center field, because Arraez is just this much. And this is the part we're talking about when we say he's not a great second baseman. It's his outs above replacement. It's not his, you look at his fielding percentage, everybody goes, what's wrong with his fielding percentage? He catches the ball generally when it's hit to him, but he doesn't get to a lot of balls that most second basemen do get to. And that's like, it's kind of like an Aaron Judge dropping the ball in the World Series in center field, where you get that extra out and 5 more runs come in. It's kind of like, okay, there's a routine grounder that should end the inning, but Arraez doesn't get to it, and now we got an extra out.
Yeah, I'm gonna prove your point here for you. Ready for this? When it comes to fielding percentage and why you should never, ever, 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 ever use fielding percentage to scout defense. Who holds the National League record for most consecutive games without making an error? It was a recent record that ended in June of 2024.
Who is it?
It's not
Wilmer. It's not Wilmer, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's a guy universally lauded as one of the worst defensive outfielders in baseball. Nick Castellanos.
Oh, gosh.
Just because you don't make errors doesn't mean jack. He can't get to anything, and all he does is just kind of go track the ball down when it stops rolling and flip it to a cutoff man. That does not mean you're a good defender.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So
that's hilarious.
Making the routine plays, that's great. But when you're worth, what is it, negative 36 outs above average?
Just at second base.
Yeah.
Well, it's minus 60 overall. Yeah.
So it's you're right though. They're gonna know really quickly if the experiment with him at second is working or not.
Yeah, they'll see. I mean, if balls are sneaking through the infield that should be like pretty routine outs, and all of a sudden Webb is causes him to struggle and he has to throw more pitches. This is why I was a little disappointed, Cody, that they didn't go after Framber Valdez, because to me, the weakest point on this team is the bullpen. Agreed. And what does Framber do? He provides innings, and so does Logan Webb. Now you have two guys that could eat up innings, 190 to 210, right? They're in that, both of them are going to be in that range.
And Robbie's good for 170 plus.
Right. And so what you do is you give your bullpen a break. And because what has been the problem with the Giants the last few years? The bullpen gets taxed, and by the second half, they're fading, and the Giants crumble. And when you don't have a very good bullpen, you better have some really good starters. And they, in my opinion, we know Webb's going to be there. Ray's going to show up, but you don't know what you're going to get with Roop, Hauser, and Molly. I mean, if they're healthy, they might, but you're probably going to get 100 and if you can get 140 innings out of Roop, you can say, hey, that was a good year. Yeah. And probably about the same for both Molly and Hauser. So you're going to need innings from other sources. So we'll see.
I kind of, I almost feel conservative saying this. I feel like the Giants are going to need to fill 30 starts in from guys that are not in the starting rotation on opening day, assuming no injuries in spring training, of course. But like of the 5 expected that are supposed, the 5 starters they've got right now, I think they're going to have to fill 30 starts throughout the year.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
I mean, I think Roop has not proven that he can give you more than 20 or so. You look at Malley. I mean, he's thrown 125 innings in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You might need 20 of them just for him.
Right.
I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
Hauser's been relatively
I still have
days.
this thought that Max Scherzer may join the team and just like, hey, just get ready for June, Max. We'll sign you in late spring training, early April. You just take your time through the minors, just have you ramp up, give yourself not a 4, we'll give you a 2-month spring training to ramp up, and we'll just use you for the second half, but we'll pay you, 8 to 10 million for, a full year. You get it for a half a year. I could see something like that. And another guy that's not signed is Verlander.
Yeah.
I just thought of him. Who's going to sign him?
Honestly, I'd be calling Scherzer going, hey, do you want to pitch out of the pen?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's a psycho, even with his stuff not what it used to be. Like, I mean, yeah, he had some really good moments in the World Series and stuff, and then he had, obviously, I think he gave them what in the game 7? I feel like he gave him like 3 innings. He gave up 1 run.
All right, yeah, better than Tim Hudson.
Yeah,
game 7, right?
Yeah, no, but
let me ask you about a player. I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you want to see Carson see less or Carson see more?
It's hard because, and admittedly, he did not look great out of the pen when they brought him up right out the gate.
There goes another long ball.
Yeah. That said, I do like his stuff. Having watched him in SAC, and it is weird. Not every guy can get developed as a starter and then just go into the pen and be fine. Birdsong obviously had success in the pen, but Birdsong was a reliever when he got drafted. He's kind of the weird one where they were like, this guy's stuff is so good that we want to put him in the rotation. So he, I think, is a little better suited for it. A guy like Tidwell, I think, could be a little better suited for it, or Wisenhunt, because they have that kind of elite pitch. And I don't think Seymour necessarily has like an elite pitch.
A lot of straight stuff.
Yeah, well, and he throws, like, he'll cut his fastball, he'll throw a sinker, and the one thing I like about Seymour is he's not afraid to go on people's hands. That's something that he's always kind of done, where he gets a lot of weak contact and broken bats, and we saw it in that start against the Cardinals, where he, I think, went like 5 innings, and I swear he broke like 7 bats that game.
Yeah,
where he has moments like that, but I don't know for sure. Like if he would have to be like developed as a bullpen arm, like right out the gate, I think, if he's going to have much success. Cause I mean, after what I saw last year, I'm not super confident in him. I will say that.
Let me put you on the spot. You've got, let's say they go, we got the 5 traditional starters. Let's say they start the season with 8 bullpen arms. So 13 on the pitching side, 13 on the position side. You got probably 4 relievers locked up for sure in Walker, Henches, Eric Miller, and Buto. Those are, and now you got other guys like Bivens. You got
Gage.
You got San Marin. You got. Let me pull up the roster. But as I'm pulling it up, you probably have in front of you. Name the opening day.
Oh God.
Bullpen.
Okay, so I've kind of said I feel like I have 5. I know you said 4. I personally have 5 that I think are almost locked. I mean, Piguero, I think maybe a little up in the air, but I do feel pretty strong that he'll probably be in there. Gage is kind of weird because does the team want to roll 3 lefties? I think he pitched pretty well last year. I think ultimately he gets a shot. So I that gets me to 6.
So you've got your your fifth guy is Peguero, and your sixth is who?
Probably Gage. I
Ga-
do think
So
ultimately he's going to end up.
he'll be the third lefty then.
Yeah, so I think they are going to end up with 3 lefties,
I
just
think they end up with 3 too.
because even like when I look outside of Gage, like some of the names like on the non-roster invite list, like a guy like Juan Sanchez who almost made the team in 2024, and then he dealt with injuries
right
this year, and then
he's
he
back
finally
as a
showed up.
non-roster.
Yeah, and he went to the fall league. He had a really strong stint in the fall league. That was all he pitched last year, unfortunately, because of the injury that he suffered in 24. But he's a lefty. I think he's gonna have a shot. But then there's a whole mess of them. Like I think Fulmer.
Yeah,
I
Michael Fulmer.
I think Fulmer ends up making this team, honestly, if he's fully healthy again. And then it gets kind of weird where we've talked like Harris, Bednar.
Yeah.
There's Gregory Santos, who's disgusting when he finds his own. Killian, he's flashed a little bit. I think he's probably not. I'm not super high on Killian personally, but
you got Keaton Wynn and you got Tristan Beck.
Yeah, you got Wynn, Beck. We mentioned Seymour. All these young starters, Wisenhunt, Tidwell,
San Martin. You've got. I mean, I think guys like McDonald and Tidwell are probably going to start as starters in Sacramento.
Yeah. And Birdsong, honestly, like they're going to have to make a decision on.
Then we forgot Spencer Bivens too.
Yeah, and Bivens, which I mean, we talked about him earlier. Where this is nothing against Spencer Bivens. I think he's a good story. He threw the ball pretty well last year. I just personally view him as the most replaceable guy in their pen.
I agree. I agree.
He's nothing special. Like that's the reality. And I would not keep a spot for him over a young player that looks ready to perform in the majors. So I mean, Birdsong is the weird one because, and I've said this before on other like videos where like Tidwell and Birdsong, I think are probably the 2 guys that I think could step into the pen right now and potentially be a leverage arm. That I feel confident in that. Like Bednar, I feel like is going to break out this year. I think he's got that upside. But I'm not going to lie to everybody on February 6th and say, oh yeah, he's going to be a leverage arm in the Giants pen right now. And it's like, he's got the upside, but
I've got him I've got him closing games at some point. Maybe it's only 1 or 2, but I think we see him go out for a close at some point in the season, whether that's the second half or whatever. But if he can find the zone, he's got some really good stuff.
Yeah. But I do think, and kind of back to my point though, with Birdsong and Tidwell, like they're probably the 2 guys that you feel the best about, but also they're kind of the 2 guys with the highest ceilings for starters when it comes to that group.
Right.
So you're kind of doing a disservice to their development if you go, okay, we're going to stop developing you as starters and just shove you in the pen. Because
you need a couple of guys to already stretched out. If Molly's or anybody goes down, you're going to have, hey, we need a reliable starter to come in, and you're going to start 3 or 4 times while this guy's on the IL.
Also, all right, I'm going to pull this up for you. This was I pulled this up on a Jeff Young post because I was curious. I did my research on this one. This is regarding Will Bednar. Share the screen. Thought this was kind of remove that from the screen. There we go.
Look at that shot. That's a screenshot.
Yeah,
there,
though. Will Bednar. I mean, because Jeff was pointing out, he's got a career 6.3 walks per 9, and you know what? A lot of guys have had this where I mean, I could name 4 guys that have been big relievers for the Giants in recent years that have had that. Randy Rodriguez, Doval, Miller. I mean, even Santos. I mean, obviously he wasn't as big for the Giants, but he had a really big year for Chicago. There's a lot of guys that go through these where they just cannot find the zone.
Right.
But then just kind of as the year went last year, he kind of he got that a little bit under control where
he got it down as low as 3.7 there in August. Wow.
Yeah, for that was like his last 11 appearances where it was, 16 Ks per 9 and under 4 walks per 9.
I mean, you can live with that.
Yeah, if you can get it under 4 with his stuff, yeah, he's going to have some outings where he goes out there and he can't find the zone, and he might be on the 3-batter limit or minimum where they just go get him out now. But also he's going to have times where he's just unhittable for weeks on, weeks at a time.
I like I say, I'm with you on that. I love his stuff, and I did get a chance to see him. I guess it's been 2 or 3 seasons now. He was in the Arizona Fall League, but he only lasted a short period because he had that back issue, and they pulled him. So I never really got a chance to actually. I think I saw him in one game, and he was getting lit up, and his velocity was, he's up at 98. He was in the low 90s with his 4-seamer, and it was because of the back. Yeah. But it's good to see that velocity's back. That tells you the back's doing better.
Yeah, because he was 95, 96, 97 in college.
Yeah, and he was in the low 90s at the Fall League, though. I was like, what is – because you know what? When you go to the Fall League games, it's pretty fun because there's literally maybe 100 people in the stands, and I might be exaggerating. Maybe there's 200, but, they're spread out. So you can walk up, sit behind the plate, and there's 4 or 5 scouts with, or more with jug guns, they're just, and I'm sitting there talking to the guy. Hey, what was that one? Or, they'll just kind of, they won't turn around. They'll just say, 94, or they'll show you the gun.
Yeah.
It's so casual to go to an Arizona Fall League game. That's why I'm looking forward to the Complex League. It'll be probably even less people. But I want to ask you another question.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Harrison Bader is still not Bader. Arraez, Luis Arraez is still not on the 40. Hasn't, whatever, I don't know if they've done the physical, whatever it is, but that's happening any day. Who's going to get on the 40? Who do you predict either gets traded or gets released?
I mean, just off the top of my head, I'm going to pull the roster up. I know someone asked that in the chat, and I think San Martin probably. That would be my guess. Someone like him. I mean, I look at the 40 right now. I mean, they have a ton of pitchers right now. Reaver, San Martin.
Do they have still 22 now?
I think they're still high on win. I don't see any infielders that are going to get the boot. Because, I mean, you look at your infielders right now, it's just Adames, Chapman, Eldridge, Fitzgerald, Koss, and Schmitt.
Yeah.
That's not a big list.
Nope.
Maybe an outfielder, but then again, they're not.
If it was an outfielder, it would have to be Encarnacion, Matos, or McRae. I don't see. I think it's a pitcher.
Yeah.
I do think it's a pitcher, and, it'll be interesting to see.
And it won't be a catcher because they just have the 3 right now.
Right.
With Bailey, Rodriguez, and Suzak.
Yeah. I'm going to take a stab myself and say that now when can they add Rodriguez to the 60? At what point? Is it at the end of spring training or when spring training starts?
I think it's I think it's like opening day. I think it's literally when the season starts.
Okay. Yeah.
So they might try and they're going to be in a good spot where they might have to give up a person or two, because I actually think there's a pretty strong possibility that 1 or possibly even 2 non-roster invites make the team.
Oh yeah, I could see that
in the pen.
They'll be only. Yeah. I went through that. I think it's only bullpen guys that have a shot at really making the club.
Like even, and I kind of mentioned, I did the video yesterday, like a guy like Bo Davidson. I mean, as exciting as it is, there's nothing he can do to make the team. Correct. But I mean, he can give them a really hell of an impression if he shows up, dominates on different sides of the ball, and then they might go, okay, well, we'll keep an eye if has a good. I know Haynes thinks he has a chance to contribute at some point, but it's got to be a pitcher. I mean, but what I was gonna say is they could. If they do have a couple make the team, and they're going to end up, obviously having to let a few guys on their 40 go, which I mean, I think guys that they're out of options for, guys like Matos or Harar, like one of those guys is easy to bump off the list or bump off the 40, but
Yeah.
potentially, they're going to be able to turn around and add Randy and Foley both to the 60 day as soon as, because Foley's not going to be available till late June at the earliest, probably July, they've said.
Right. Yeah, July.
So you've got 2 that you're going to be able to throw on there. So you're going to have 2 open spots to where the Giants could potentially try and snag somebody that gets put on waivers, or maybe that's how they grab a bullpen arm, is somewhere, something like that.
It's interesting. I have got 12 guys on the position side locked in that as of now, obviously you got the 2 catchers, Bailey and probably Susak. So there's 2. Then you've got your infielders, Adames 3, Chapman 4, and then Casey 5, and probably Eldridge, let's say 6. Koss, you could say 7 if you want to go that route. And then your outfield, and then Devers would be 8 as first base DH. 8. Now you got 4 outfielders in Bader, Gilbert, Lee, and Ramos. So you're at 12. That's 12 position guys, if I did my math right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if they're going to carry 13, you mentioned Grant McCray. I could see a Grant McCray, Tony Vitello just saying, you know what? We don't have, I think McCray, they might be beyond the point, at least in the Giants organization, of thinking, we don't really need to keep trying to develop him. There's not a spot for him to play every day. Let's just use his speed and his arm if we need, a late inning replacement for Ramos or whatever. They don't have any speed burners. Some teams have the luxury of carrying that last guy that just is that guy, that can go out and steal a base in the 9th inning. What do you think? Do you think he could be the 13th guy, or is it a Fitzgerald who can play both infield and outfield?
Yeah, I think Fitz is in play, given that he can play both. Honestly, he might be the favorite at that point. That's why I would hand Koss an outfield glove and be like,
yeah,
I like Koss better defensively in the infield, but he hasn't proven he can play outfield. Fitzgerald is capable of it. Not who you exactly want out there, but just the versatility.
You're not freaking out if he's out there, though.
As long as he's not in center. I mean, I'm living with it, but
well, they've got Gilbert. You could look at it this way. They got Bader, probably 1, Gilbert 2, and they would probably say on the roster, Jung Hoo would be a guy that they would, okay, we're out of center fielders. Let's move Jung Hoo over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have, hell, I'd almost say I'd put Ramos in center before I put Fitzgerald back out there again. Honestly, I don't ever want to see him in center field again.
Well, at least Wade Meckler's gone. Yeah. That was so fun. We had so much fun when we'd go to a spring training game. Los D and I, we'd be watching games and we're just like, look at this dude run. I mean, he looks like a bull out of a, like at the rodeo that's just running for a fly ball. He's just like bouncing up and down, and he's just like, oh my gosh, he was hilarious.
That Harper inside the Parker, which was generously ruled an inside the park home run, and not like a double with 3 airs. That was one of the worst defensive plays I've ever seen.
Oh my
He
gosh.
took a terrible route, didn't play the carom well, bobbled the pickup like twice, missed the cutoff man, I swear, by 30 feet. I mean, it was like everything he could possibly do wrong on that play he did. And
yeah,
I saw that and I was like, I don't want to see that guy out there ever again. That was,
he was,
I not to pick on Wade, but that was rough.
It's interesting. what's his name? Meckler. Who would have been a better second baseman? Just him. I know Arraez is the better hitter, but Meckler had that skill of who would have been the defensively better second baseman, Arraez or Meckler?
I mean, I think Meckler has more upside there.
Mm.
He's got more range. And they honestly, whoever took him off second base in college and put him in the outfield thinking, oh, he's got speed, that he should have just stayed at second and kept developing at second base. Now, that said, I went to a game last year in Tacoma where Meckler or Bryce was playing first, and I sat right down the first baseline because I was like, the whole reason I went and sat where I did was I wanted to go watch Bryce play first, kind of see how he handled himself there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sit over here today. And they hit one over to Meckler, and he missed Bryce by like 15 feet on a throw. And I'm like, Bryce is 6'7".
Yeah.
And probably when he stretches out, it's like he threw it almost right into the dugout. And I was like, and not on like a, backhand, and I'm like falling off. And no, like it literally was like, I'm just running over. I picked up the ball, and it's like he tried to set his feet, and his feet pointed one way and his shoulders pointed another, and the ball was just, God knows where this thing's going.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude.
Wow.
So, but it's one play. I mean, guys make bad plays. I saw Crawford throw countless balls up into the stands from short, but it was usually on like a dive in the hole.
Yeah. I remember, you probably don't remember this, but I believe it was in the 80s. Yeah. Steve Sachs was playing for the Dodgers, and he got the yips. And Vin Scully, I was living in Southern California, and he'd be like, grounded to second. Here we go. And Sachs did it again. Ball thrown. I mean, he was doing this every day, and it was an adventure.
He knob blocked?
What's that?
I said he knob blocked?
Oh, he was the worst. It was all mental, Steve Sachs, his guys from Sacramento. He actually is one of the, you probably see him a lot when you watch the River Cats. He does the commentary for the River Cats.
Yeah, I say the name. I did recognize that name, and it was definitely before my time.
Just pull it. Just do a YouTube. You'll have fun. Pull up a YouTube of Steve Sachs and the yips. I mean, it's just like it was just so bad. But it was classic listening to Vin Scully just talk about it. There might even be, I haven't even listened to him, but there might be some video highlights of Vin Scully doing the broadcasting of it. But
by the way, Rick says they can when spring starts.
Okay, so I bet you that's why Arraez is not on the roster, I bet.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense.
There's no reason to put Arraez on the roster at this point because they don't report for a few days after that.
Yeah.
Officially.
So, yep. So, and I kind of just looked into it, and there was it sounds like it's not something teams often do, but, with a guy like Rodriguez, who's going to miss the whole year, or at least the vast majority of the year, they'll probably do that. And then Foley, I was kind of on MLB trade rumors. They were talking, the Giants might want to like get to camp and just get more of a timeline on him. So they might hold off on putting him on the 60-day for a bit.
I would think he's got to go on the 62. Why not?
Probably.
That opens up 2 roster spots next week.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, I think when he comes back, and I mean, obviously this is a big if. We don't know what he's going to look like. That's kind of I think that's part of why the projections for the Giants bullpen are so low, is guys like him and Henches, who are both coming off injuries, and everyone's like, I mean, the reality is we don't know what they're going to look like. I feel pretty good that Henches is far enough removed that I think he's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
Foley, we'll see. He's got good stuff when he's out there, but I do think the pen is going to be better than projected. I don't think it's going to be good. I think they had it projected as the second worst bullpen in baseball, and I don't think it's going to be that big of a disaster. I think it's going to be probably bottom half of the league, but I think it's going to surprise people. I think a couple young guys are going to end up stepping up. and it's just going to end up not being as bad. Closer is going to be an interesting situation, though.
I would be surprised if it's a little better, like you said, then guys can look. We were talking about this on NorCal last night with the bullpen. You look at guys like in 21, Duvall emerged, and then you had Kervin Castro, who was and he just disappeared. These guys in the bullpen, they can come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, think about some of those guys who have become closers around the league that were no names a couple years ago. And all of a sudden they get 3 or 4 opportunities, they close the game, and all of a sudden they get confidence and guys just become closers. We saw it with Duvall and we saw it with Walker in 24. Who would have thought Ryan Walker would be a good closer in 2024? And then he had a bad year last year. He might bounce back. Who knows?
I was just going to say, as much as a lot of us have bagged on Ryan Walker, like it would not surprise me at all if next season he had like a sub 2.5 ERA and was converting saves 85. Saves. Yeah, like 85% of the time or something, where he was like just a little above that. That wouldn't shock me, honestly. No. Like, I mean, FP's talked about it a good amount where he's like, relievers on a year-to-year basis are so volatile where they're so good. And this is kind of the reason why a lot of teams don't want to pay relievers premium money, because
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, one year they're great, and then the next year they fall off a cliff, and then maybe they yo-yo back up to being really good, but you just don't know what you're gonna. Their everything, their impact is so limited on a daily basis, where it's
such. We know that you can compare kind of a closer in baseball to almost like a field goal kicker, right? The guy, it's so mental. It's so mental. Guys that have, I mean, you could see it in Duvall. He'd just go out there and he was just like, kickers that are confident and they just, there's some kickers, we all, as the 49ers, we know Jake Moody, the story of Jake Moody, but Jake Moody was probably going out there and mentally going, I can't miss this, versus I'm going to drill this right through the uprights. And so if a closer gets into a bad headspace, it's really tough to recover, and vice versa. If he's confident and feels like he's invincible, it's pretty tough for those guys not to have success. So we'll see. I mean, it is going to be and Cody, we talked about the 2 roster spots that are likely to open up. They may not fill those with the intention of that a couple non-roster players might fill those.
Yeah, they don't have to fill them.
Right.
Not right away. Like they could certainly wait. And then if Suzak doesn't make it, in my opinion, it's probably going to be Hossie. I don't think Rodriguez is going to make it, but if Suzak doesn't make it, then I mean, I guess Hossie would probably fill that roster spot anyway. But to your point, talking about field goal kickers, this is the one that I thought of immediately when you brought that up. How like all of a sudden the confidence can just go and it just fall apart. Remember when David Akers kicked for the Niners?
63-yarder he made.
Yeah. And he was like, 86. I'm looking at the years prior to that. 86.5%, 84.2, 84.6. And then all of a sudden the year they went to the Super Bowl, 69%. And they were looking at replacing him before the playoffs. It was like, oh my God. Like all of a sudden they just can't make it.
Look, I could tell you from experience as a field goal kicker, I did not miss my senior year. Every kick I made. And then I went into junior college and I kicked, and my first kick was my field goal was good. And then I don't know what happened. I got into there was some mental stuff going on. I was dating a girl and she was away in college in Idaho, and I was down in the Bay Area at Los Medanos College. And, I was thinking about it. And we started the relationship started to kind of fade a little bit. and I could tell I was losing her, and I mentally started thinking about that. I missed a kick, I missed another kick, and then I missed the next 6 kicks after that. I just went like my career was done. I was just like my head. It was because I was in a bad space. I was 19 years old. I was, my first year college, community college, and it was just like I was done. And I just said, okay, I went out and kicked till I was 40 with my kids. I'd show them, hey, look, I can still, Dad. Now I've got a new hip because of all that kicking.
The bionic man kicking him from 63 like acres.
Yeah. That's funny. So my kicking, I became, it got to the point. I still remember my head coach. He's like, he was my high school freshman coach, and he was the community college. He was a great coach anyway. He used to coach at San Jose State and everything. But I remember one day he goes, all right, field goal unit. And he looked over, he goes, no, never mind. You're not going to make. Coaches were all like, no, don't send Coach Emilio in there.
That's funny. Elmore says Dan Moody.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that did not end well. Anyway, but it's mental. It really was. It was in my head. Because I was going out there going, I can't miss this. Just come on, don't miss this. Instead of, I had no confidence that I was going to make it.
Yeah,
I was just, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like, watch a golfer play. It's the same thing where it's just instead of, oh, hey, I want to hit a draw off of this, this marker out in the, and I'm going to start it here. And if it's just, oh dear God, don't put it out of bounds, or whatever. It's like, don't shank it.
I'm looking forward to getting back on the golf course. Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm hoping to get back out there maybe March or April. April is the end of April, early May. You don't really want to golf too much. You definitely don't want to golf here in the summer in Arizona, June through September, unless you go out there at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
You got to go out there at 5 in the morning, literally.
Yeah. It's the only reason anyone has an umbrella in Arizona is to put it on the cart to keep them out of the sun. But yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we're probably at a good spot here to wrap this one up here. I was originally going to try and keep this to an hour, but it's too much fun. Keep it going a little bit. So, appreciate you jumping on with us, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to always connect and talk baseball with you. I love talking with Cody because he just really understands the game, the intricacies of the game, and the fine details that so many people overlook. And he's not a nerd like some of the.
Just a little bit. Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Did I lose you, Dan? Well, I think I might have lost Dan, everybody. Can everybody still hear me?
There we went dead. I think it's telling us time to leave.
Now there we go. There we go.
We were, I was just saying real quickly. Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk with you because I think we think a lot alike just because, I think, growing up, not just watching the game, but actually playing the game. Oh, look at this. The circles. That's what it looks like. Exactly. How did you come up with that? That's great. No, just playing the game and understanding it. You pick up a lot of nuances that, like, for example, I never played hockey. I loved hockey, but there's things I don't know about hockey that a hockey player would know.
Yeah, for sure. But so going forward, and I'll have you kind of let everyone know what you've got coming up next, just so everyone knows. We're planning to have Charlie Zacconi on with us next Monday. I think that's probably going to be the last one, unless we can snag somebody before they report to spring. But that might be the last one that we have because I'm going to be gone the following week. So,
cool.
But yeah, we're going to have Charlie join us next Monday. For anybody that's joined the membership, I'm going to be doing a Daniel Suzak prospect breakdown next Wednesday. I'm sure I'll throw another video together. I'm going to pre-record a few videos for while I'm gone. Caveman Dan, he's going to be back next Friday. His PC, I think he's going to get that back. Well, actually, he'll probably be on with us on Monday with Charlie, but he'll be back next Friday. The following week, you guys are going to probably get a solo Dan show. So brace yourselves is all I'm going to say. He's going to get unleashed. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've got going on. I'll let Dan kind of share what he's got coming up here before we check out, and yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we are going to be on Monday night. Normally we wouldn't be coming on this Monday night, but it's night after the Super Bowl, and we had it planned for last week, but Polymac of Polymac Particles and Tony, his producer, who run Polymac Particles, Paul McNamara, who used to be part of Murph and Mac show, he's got his own YouTube channel. He's going to join NorCal Sports Network Monday night. Either Tuesday or Thursday night, Jeff Young will join us, and I'm not sure which night he has free, so we have to wrap that up. And then I think that's really everything going. So, we did pass 6,000 subs just a couple days ago, which was kind of cool. It took us forever to get there. I felt like we were stuck on 5,900 for a year or something, seems like. But anyway, we're there. And then got a really cool, I want to show you guys, I'm working on a new logo. I'll just show you on my phone. I don't have it on but what do you think of it? Check this out. It's the similar logo to NorCal, but we've added a little stitching in the center there to make a baseball out of it.
It's nice.
So we kept the bear and we kept the NorCal, the round logo, but we changed the colors a little bit. Those are some Giants colors. If you'll notice, a little bit of orange there at the bottom, and then the cream is the Road Uni cream. So colors. So anyway, that's kind of what we've got going. But if you guys haven't subscribed to either of the channels, if you're watching on NorCal Sports, go over there and subscribe to Even Your Dynasty show. I think Cody's, I try to be humble, but I think Cody and I have two of the best shows on YouTube when it comes to the Giants. Why? Because we can be brutally honest. We're not beholden to the team. We love the team. We're fans, but we're not being paid to not say things.
Yeah. If I don't like something, I'm not gonna hold back and pretend I do. Like, it just is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but all right, everybody, appreciate you guys. Go check out Dan, like he said. If you're on my side right now watching, make sure you hit the like and subscribe on his as well. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. We'll be back. Like I said, Monday. I know Dan just gave his list. We'll be back also Friday night next week for our next live show. So appreciate you guys. Go Giants, and we'll catch you next time.